Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are
above replacement radio.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. There's quite a lot that's happened off the field, but also on the field since our last recording. We have some managerial firings. We have some potential clubhouse drama. And we are a quarter of the way through the season, right? Each team is kind of crossing the 40 game mark as we embark on this third week of May here. So we're talking about some quarterly all-stars today as well.
Yes. We're kind of heading into that time of year when the ballots do come out, but they have yet to come out. So now, I think we're kind of cornering the market here, I guess you would say.
Yes, we are.
On all-star discussions, because that will be very prevalent in the coming weeks, I'm sure. But yeah, so there were multiple managerial firings this year, and the one of which, or both of which, kind of had a weird feeling to it, because it doesn't seem obvious that it's it's obvious that the teams have problems, but it's not obvious that the manager is the cause of those. And yeah, we're talking about the Pirates and Rockies here, and the first pitcher, or the first manager to be fired here, was Derek Shelton of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had been holding the job since 2020. What were your thoughts on kind of what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of said it. Like, this is not, nobody could manage the Pirates to be successful right now, given the way that the team has played this year. I don't think it's a talented team outside of obviously a few guys such as O'Neal Cruz, Paul Skeens, among others. When you lose Jared Jones to an injury preseason, when you still haven't called up Bubba Chandler, and when really nobody on the offense, with the exception of O'Neal Cruz and Joey Bart, is like hitting well, I don't know what you're supposed to ask of a manager. I mean, ultimately, I think this is pretty clearly an ownership and front office problem to a much larger scale than it is the manager. The thing that was just amusing to me was in Bob Nutting's statement saying that we need to act with more urgency, because it's like, that's you. That's you. More than anybody, that's you. Not Derek Shelton.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, as we kind of talked about, as we kind of talk about frequently, it often starts with the owner, and yeah, that's
with the Pirates especially.
With it's really twofold in Pittsburgh, because they consistently have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, and then I think maybe this isn't entirely ownership, but just player development in general is not the best there. Oftentimes we see teams with lower payrolls who excel at that area, whether that's the Rays or the Cleveland Guardians, the Athletics more back in the day. But with the Pirates, it's not spending and also not developing, which is a terrible combo, and which is part of the reason why they haven't made the playoffs in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Pirates this year, they rank bottom 6, I believe, in team average. They have a 218 team average. OBP is at 299. Slugging is the second worst in the league, in front of only the White Sox at 326. Like, I don't really understand how that's not the GM's fault. Like, if your team is that bad at hitting, it's probably not the hitters probably aren't good. It sounds very, I know I'm sounding very like caveman brain right now, but it's right in front of us, and it's been right in front of us for the better part of the last decade. This is not a good team. It's not built to win. This is not a team that seriously invests in itself. This was the offseason to do it. Now that you have a generational talent ace for the next 5 years, they didn't really do anything to build on that. They got Spencer Horwitz and then lost him to injury. if Spencer Horwitz was healthy, this team would not be much better than it is already.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. And yeah, I think just this is kind of what happens when you underperform. Just like they're underperforming ever so slightly, I would say.
Hmm.
Like if they had, or I know as of yesterday they had a 13-27 record. If that was 17-23, I don't think there's any. That's kind of what we would have expected out of the Pirates to start the year.
I
But
mean, if
they're
anything, I think this is the Pirates like showing us their true form earlier in the season than normal because the last couple of years they've gotten off to decent starts and then, did the thing where they become the Pirates. They were a 500 team at the All-Star break last year. And then, crashed and burned. In 2023, they had a winning record in June. They were 32-27 on June 5th. And then, did the thing where they're the Pirates. They're just doing that in April now. This is not a different team than it was the last 2 years. They just happen to not be getting off to the hot start that they had been in previous years. And a large part of that is because the roster was not built to really be good at any point. Outside of, when the 1 out of 9 times that O'Neal Cruz is hitting and the 1 out of 5 times that Paul Skeens is on the mound. And even then, like Skeens has a 2.77 ERA. He's 3-4. Andrew Heaney has a 3.15 ERA. He's 2-3. Even when the starting pitchers are doing well, they're not winning games, which is, clearly not the start of the fault the fault of the starting pitcher. We've gone over that plenty of times on this show, but this is not a good team, and the manager can't really make a bad team good to that degree.
Right, right, for sure. And I think it is kind of funny that the Bud Black firing happened in the same week as this one because I
Mhm.
feel like they are just so similar. I know you've had sort of an infatuation with Bud Black's managerial tenure and the fact that he had been, I think, the fourth longest tenured manager,
Yeah, I think it was fifth.
fourth or
It's
fourth or
Dave Roberts, Kevin Cash, Torey Lavello. I think one other manager have been around longer than Bud Black.
Yeah, and obviously the Rockies have not been good in at least a half a decade now, and have been consistently in the cellar of that National League West. But it's not something you can really blame on him. But it was just kind of funny that he just was there and still one of the longest tenured managers. And it was like,
Yeah,
yeah, if you fire him, nothing really changes. But it's like, what does he have to do to get fired? Because the team hasn't been good at all, even though it's not his
yeah,
fault. But usually by just by muscle memory, managers get fired by this point. And I think that's kind of what happened with Derek Shelton is, the Pirates have been bad for a while. Not really his fault, but I guess from a even just a PR standpoint, it's like maybe you have to fire this guy to signify any sort of change to any part of the fan base that might believe that.
yeah. I mean, this is not, ownership obviously needs to, start being real. They haven't really ever been real. Bob Nutting is, like I think there are owners that I think are bad at their jobs that I do think care about their teams, but are just so bad about the way that they go about it. I would even point to Dick Monfort. I actually do think he cares about winning baseball games. I think he's just so profoundly bad at the process of doing so. Artie Moreno, same thing. I do think he wants to win games. I think he's just really bad at doing it. I wholeheartedly have never seen a reason to believe that Bob Nutting cares about winning baseball in Pittsburgh. Not a single time in the time that he's owned the team. There's been multiple written pieces reported about how things are with the team that Nutting does everything he can to save money. Last year there was the thing with I think it was Rowdy Tellez, right? Like where he was cut from the team right after he was going to get um like a milestone bonus for plate appearances in a season or whatever. Right, I think it was Tellez, if I'm not mistaken.
It sounds right.
Yeah, I forget. I might be getting my details wrong, but I know something like that happened last year, with the Pirates specifically. This is not a serious franchise. Derek Shelton, if anything, is free from all this. Um, maybe this is I hope this is something you could parlay into a better job because I don't think he was a bad manager. I don't think the greatest manager of all time. I don't think, you know what, Chris? I don't think Connie Mack could have managed this team to success. I said it. That's right. The
You don't
greatest
think the
manager of
great
all time.
you don't think the great player manager Fred Clark could lead this Pirates team back to its 1909 days? You
Yeah,
don't
no,
believe
I
that
don't think
name
even
occurring?
I
You're
think the franchise is that beyond saving.
You're out of that. You're out of your crickets there, Matt. You don't need millions of dollars. You pay these guys, $15 an hour. That's plenty of that's a great salary for a young man who wants to play his favorite sport, in my opinion. But yeah, no. It is crazy. And by the way, I did look up the article for the Rowdy Teles thing about Replacement Radio YouTube channel. This is the AI review, so but I believe this is correct information. The Pirates designated Rowdy Teles for assignment on September 24, 2024, after he was only 4 plate appearances shy of a $200,000 performance bonus.
Yep, that's right.
So, I mean, literally 1 game away from hitting that, and yeah, bye bye. You're on the chopping block.
Yeah, on September. Yeah, because we really needed to make roster moves on September 24th
Right. When
when we've been mathematically eliminated for 2 weeks at this point.
exactly. No, it's unreal. It's cartoon character villain type stuff that's happening with ownership in Pittsburgh. And yeah, obviously, hopefully Derek Shelton can find another big time baseball job and get treated correctly and given the right tools to succeed. So yeah.
I do think manager, this is just a general thing, and I think now that we're talking about firings, it's a good time to bring it up. I often think the managers just get too much blame overall, and that goes with any team. Like, I think when a team is performing bad, like the fan base's default argument is always just fire the manager, kind of just by default. No one ever really offers alternatives. Like, I don't know where do the Pirates go from here? I guess Don Kelly is going to manage the rest of this already lost season where they're what, like 13 and 27 or whatever it is, 14 and 27, I think.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and that's why we usually don't talk about manager stuff on this show, is because a lot of that, a lot of what I guess would quantify a good manager is like what's seen behind closed doors, and we're not behind the scenes at all, and we can't really tell who's a good manager or not, who is good in the clubhouse, who the team wants to follow. We can only see how players are performing. So, we don't really know. Maybe he was a really bad manager, but based on how the team performed compared to expectations, I can't really believe
You
that.
can't evaluate Derek Shelton's managing abilities through this team.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like you can't manage a bullpen when, even David Bednar was struggling at many points, this year and last year when he's supposed to be your guy, really your only guy. Like, yeah, we like Dennis Santana was such a random, huge addition to that bullpen last year, so much so that you made him a player to watch because he simply was a Pirates bullpen pitcher that didn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, no, indeed. And yeah, and I'll say like the Pirates, they won 76 games each of the previous 2 years heading into this year, and I would say that's like overperforming for them. I don't
Yeah.
I think they performed better than I expected and better than a lot of people in the league would have expected. And it's not glamorous, obviously. You obviously want to be better as a baseball team, but you can only do so much.
Do we want to talk about the Skeens quote?
Um, sure. I haven't seen it. What is the Skeens quote?
Okay. He said he was asked about the firing and he said, unfortunately, I wasn't shocked. We're 12 and 26. Someone's got to be held accountable. Unfortunately, right now it's him. That's just kind of how it goes. I don't think it fixes any root issues of the team, which is we need to play better. He went on to say something more of substance where he said like something like, well, if we don't start playing better, then this is already a lost season, which, he's in his age 23 season already talking about potentially lost seasons in May of his sophomore year. Like that's not where you want to be with your franchise cornerstone.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's hard to take that energy into extension talks, if and when they ever arrive. But yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty
Let's
rough over
find
there
the
for sure.
the
And
full quote. Yeah, okay. He continued to say, if nothing else, we're going to grow. We better grow because then if we don't grow, it's a completely lost season. Got to keep going and understand the urgency of where we're at right now. That's the full quote.
yeah, yeah, pretty brutal stuff in
Which,
Pittsburgh.
I mean, obviously, like mathematically, the Pirates season is salvageable. Like you know, the Tigers were however many games under 500 with like 2 months to go last year, and they figured it out. So you know, anything can happen. But I don't think firing the manager will make much of a difference. I don't think you know, cleanup hitter and Manuel Valdez will suddenly become a 160 weighted runs created plus bat because the bench coach is now the manager.
Right. Yeah, no.
Like it's not
Yeah, it's never
the
great to
guy that
see.
was already there just has some more responsibilities.
Yeah, and maybe maybe the sports landscape kind of like or the baseball fans want, managerial changes when things get rough because in other sports, especially with football, the head coach does really matter quite a bit.
Mhm.
Whereas manager, I think and oftentimes they can be fairly interchangeable, and some are certainly better than others, but in terms of how much impact they can have on a team's performance, it's much less impactful than probably a head coach in football.
Yes.
But with people's brains, they kind of go toward that same mentality with baseball, even though it's much different. But yeah, I wouldn't expect. I'd be very surprised to see any change in performance from Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks that this is, you know, another Pirates season down the drain. I want this team to be good. Like the NFL draft is coming to Pittsburgh next year. Like we're only in like the sort of somewhat the beginning of stages of the NFL draft going to various cities and like having it be like a you know, a tourist attraction for the NFL. The fact that they're picking Pittsburgh this early like says something about how passionate the fans are there. And they are for the Steelers. And I don't know about the Penguins, but I'm sure, I mean, they've, you know, given them 2 titles in the last decade. I'm sure people care about the Penguins. There's literally been no reason for them to care at all about the Pirates. The Pirates are like a forgotten, you know, just a forgotten, sad franchise in Major League Baseball. A team that's been around since the dead ball era is one of the most irrelevant, you know, entities in the league right now outside of a couple of guys. And it's largely because the team hasn't been invested in. And like, I don't know, I think firing the manager is just the easy way out of saying you did something, even though objectively that's not going to change anything. It's the easy thing to do where you can throw your hands up and be like, well, we changed something. We fired the manager. We did the thing. Now we can, you know, go back to business as usual in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's like if there was a huge fire in your house and you took out the battery to your smoke alarm. It's like, oh, it's not beeping anymore.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
Right. Because firing the GM is hard. It's a harder transition. You have to find a guy that has to look at your franchise long term, much more than a manager, which is like, okay, what do we have right now? What can we do now? When you're GM, you really have to look at things long term, especially when you're being hired, especially with a franchise like the Pirates that have valuable assets right now, but yet are not in a position to win anytime soon.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you have a a consensus by us top two pitcher in the game,
Hmm.
probably consensus by most people's standards, top three pitcher in the game. And then, you know, O'Neal Cruz, who I think would eke into the top 50, maybe if we were to do it right now. He's certainly looking like he has a lot of potential. So like two potentially top 50 players, and there's not really a whole lot of hope outside of that, unfortunately.
No, no, and I mean neither of them have signed extensions. I don't think there's much hope that either of them are going to be staying long term, which is very sad because I think the time I don't know if I mentioned this on the show or not, but I think the window of time where you could get Paul Skeens on a team friendly deal has come and gone. I don't think that's happening now.
Right. Yeah. When you're a Cy Young finalist in your rookie year that you started in mid-May, literally on the day of this recording, last year, he
Mhm.
started his
Yeah,
season and he was a Cy Young
yeah, it's been
finalist.
365 days of Paul Skeens, and he's had one of the greatest like starts to a career that we've ever seen. He's done literally everything to prove he is above the Pittsburgh Pirates as an organization. There is genuinely like on paper, no reason to believe that staying long term would benefit his career. Like
Right.
it's not going to be where the most money is. It's not going to be where he has the best chance to win. That's for sure. Like there is genuine, they already haven't, to our knowledge, come to play ball with any extension talks that are meaningful enough to be reported.
Right, right.
Which maybe they have and we just don't know. But as far as we know, there's been nothing.
Yeah, the guy that lost to him in Rookie of the Year already has his
Yeah.
extension.
Like this is a guy that 2 weeks ago or whatever it was had a bobblehead night, and there were people literally wrapped around to the other side of the Clemente Bridge waiting in line to get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Like that should be a blank check moment for your franchise.
yeah, you have a guy who is 23 and one of the faces of baseball. Like
Mhm.
I'd say maybe top 10 most recognizable guy in baseball right now, top 5 maybe.
I would say top five.
Um and yeah, there's just uh yeah, no, there's not a lot of urgency to get stuff done, and there's no you're not really selling the Pittsburgh Pirates organization well to him right now.
No.
Nor have nor have you been since like 2015. And yeah, like talking about just the general passion of that city. I mean, it's a core memory that like people our age have of watching the 2013 playoffs in the environment at
Mhm.
PNC Park. It was unbelievable. We hadn't really seen that yet to that point.
You have to be in your 20s to be able to comprehend that based on lived experience.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's kids who are in high
Really like
school
mid
now.
20s more than anything.
There's kids who are in high school right now that like don't know a successful Pittsburgh Pirates franchise.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
so but yeah, did we want to get into the next managerial firing?
Yeah, let's do that. Speaking of being in high school, Chris, you and I were in high school when Bud Black got hired to be
Mm,
the manager of the Colorado Rockies ahead of the 2017 season. He spent upwards of or parts of 9 years with the club. Produced a record of 543 and 690 for a 440 winning percentage, and he's free. I am happy for Bud Black more than anybody else in this situation. He is free. He has paid whatever debts that he owed to the baseball gods for some unknown reason. How can you enjoy like being around baseball as like spending the last 9 years as the Colorado Rockies manager?
yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I
And
remember,
that comes after spending 9 years with the Padres and going 649 and 713.
yeah, like I don't know if the managerial salary is enough to like endure that. It's
No.
it's kind of tough.
Like what did Bud Black do to ever deserve this? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know.
I don't think he's a bad manager. And yeah, you mentioned it earlier. I am fascinated by the fact that they let him like none of this is his fault. I think Dave Roberts had a quote saying like not even Casey Stengel could have managed his team to success, and he's right. If I saw that on Twitter. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean it seems right. Uh yeah, what do you like genuinely what were you supposed to do in this situation? I also agree that this is a situation where you should have fired the GM or also just not hired Bill Schmidt to begin with. Um,
True.
because like are the Rockies even rebuilding? Like this is supposed to be a team where you're figuring out who the pieces are for the future. What valuable at like who is this team going to trade at the deadline?
Yeah, no, it's like Ryan McMahon. Is that, get the
Yeah, I
number
guess.
20,
I
yeah, get the number
guess.
26 prospect in some team's organization for him.
Yeah.
It's
Jake Bird.
there's,
Do
flopping
maybe
his
I mean
wings
Kyle
everywhere.
Freeland is a good FIP.
He has a
Does he have
319 FIP this year.
which like trading Kyle Freeland would be a really difficult thing to swallow. He's a Denver native. Did you see the quote where he had to like get up at a press conference and like tell Rockies fans like hang in there, like we're gonna be okay or something like that? I forget what
I
the actual quote was, but they basically made like Kyle Freeland be the voice of the franchise for the fan base and be like, we understand frustration, whatever. Like that is not a role that Kyle Friedland should be playing.
Right. Yeah. You don't want a player.
Honestly, it's not even really a role that Bud Black should have been playing, although it would make more sense for him to have said it.
Right. Yeah. It's strange for sure, but the yeah, it with this firing, it's like, you know how when a person is when a person's very, very old and their life has passed, and
What does it do with the analogies today? I'm listening though. Go ahead.
let's, you know, someone maybe reached triple digits and
Okay.
they passed on. It's like, well, it's not, this is not
It's
a
not that sad,
it's not a
it's
funeral.
like
It's
yeah,
a
of course it's sad.
celebration of life. I think
Yeah.
what we're having here is a celebration of the fact that Bud Black made it almost 10 years as a Rockies manager. And I
Yeah.
think that
It's
should
also
be
it's also
celebrated.
like when someone passes away and they were suffering from some horrific illness and it's like they're in a better place now.
True.
And
Yeah.
they're resting ease. They're resting now. That's how I feel about Bud Black. Like he is free from the chains of the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, he's literally in a better place now, which is outside of the Rockies dugout.
Yeah.
Um,
The team is three. Their team is 7-33, I believe, after their win today. He went out with a win. There is that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, way to kill the momentum,
Yeah.
Rockies.
Yeah, seriously, the Rockies, yeah, seriously. Bud Black is on a winning streak for the first time in over a week, and you're like, nope, get out of here.
They have a road trip coming up. Maybe that's why they did it.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you're probably right. Don't want to
This-
send him on the road and be like, hey, by the way.
They, yeah, they go to Texas tomorrow or tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go to Texas and then Arizona. So you're like, you know what? Why don't you why don't you just stay in Denver here, enjoy the mountains. Um,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, it is pretty crazy that it ended up being this long, and yeah, he is kind of, I guess not fully blameless, but I can't imagine he's a super below average manager. And just like with the Pirates, I don't expect their performance to get any better because of this firing.
Yeah, no, exactly. If you look at so Bill Schmidt took over, I believe, in what, 2021, right? It was the year after the Arnado trade.
You would definitely know more than me on that.
Yeah, it was after the, I'm pretty sure it was after the Arnado trade. If you look at the draft history for the Rockies, it's not wonderful. Their 2021 first round draft pick was Benny Montgomery, who they took eighth overall out of a high school in Pennsylvania. Currently, he's in Double A Hartford, where he in 93 plate appearances this season is hitting 193 with an 81 weighted runs created plus. In 2022, they had two first round picks, one of them being the number 10 pick and one of them being a comp pick. It was Gabriel Hughes, who was drafted out of, excuse me while I search this up, drafted out of Gonzaga University, a right-handed pitcher. Um, so far this year, he is pitching much better, but I would imagine had surgery because he did not pitch at all in 2024. 236 ERA, but still, a bit behind where they probably would have hoped he was when they drafted him. Uh, on top of that, Sterling Thompson, another guy they drafted that same year. Jordan Beck's decent this year. Chase Dolander too early to make a decision, although he's looked all right his first few outings. Charlie Condon, I still believe in, but he has hit the injury bug a bit since he got drafted, and has struggled. But I think that's largely because of the injuries.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's they definitely have drafted poorly, and I feel like we haven't seen our Rockies prospect come up and really break out since like Trevor Story, if I'm
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of seeing it with Jordan Beck right now. Um,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, like, are you talking like immediately break out? Because like Michael Tolley has had his moments. Zach Veen even had
Or
like a
just
moment or two this year.
like just come up and have a season of being like a real deserving all-star.
Okay,
Or
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, we're talking Trevor Story for sure.
yeah, because it's nice to have a draft a player who's going to put up like 2 or 3 wins above replacement a season. But
This Jeff Bridich draft history is real rough too. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I'm
Damn.
sure the GM wasn't an upgrade, but like you figure you're going to hit
Yeah.
on
I mean,
one.
he hit on a few things. He hit on John Gray. I'll give him that. He hit on Kyle Freeland. Forrest Wall, unfortunately, not quite. Brandon Rogers, debatable. I mean, he was, he played long enough with the team to be, I think, by their own standards, considered a successful pick. Mike Nicorak, not quite. Tyler Nevin, Riley Pint, Robert Tyler, Ryan Rollison, Michael Tolia, Zach Veen, and then that's when Bridich was out.
And those are all the first round draft picks.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
since 2013.
and it's not like they've had a litany of second, fourth, fifth, second, third,
No,
fourth, fifth rounders that have popped up. Like, the Dodgers sometimes
but
will
it's
whiff
but it has to be
on.
Bud Black's fault. Yeah. On top of that, weirdly enough, like Dick Monfort's another one of those guys where like I do think he cares. He just is terrible at it. Like if you look at the way that the Rockies have spent money in the last like half decade, it's been like almost like you have to. It almost feels like you have to try to be that bad. Like the Chris Bryant contract has obviously been a disaster. Although I'll put that more on the fault of his health than anything else. The Arenado contract was fine, although they just they traded him after 2 years and uh kept a bunch of the money. That was not great, and also did not get anything of value in that trade.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
No.
yeah, I get like they got, I guess Austin Gomber ate some innings for them, but that's about it.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, like the Super bullpen was obviously like a spectacular failure. Wade Davis, Brian Shaw, Jake McGee. The Ian Desmond contract wasn't good. The Daniel Murphy contract wasn't good. Like this team has literally never spent like big money in an efficient way. I guess the Charlie Blackmon extension was fine. Was he worth 113 million from 2018 to 23? I'd say no.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Probably not.
so even then, like, yeah, it's been a rough go with things for that team.
Yes, most certainly. Yeah, it's not been great, but yeah, as
Genuine
you
question. So at the end of this year, or not at the end of this year, like what happens when Kyle Freeland, Antonio Senzatella, and Herman Marquez are no longer in this rotation? Which two of them have 2 years remaining. Kyle Freeland has a vesting option. I don't know what it is. Antonio Senzatella has a 14 million dollar club option in 2027. Herman Marquez is a free agent after this year. Who is going to be pitching games for this team when those three are off the mound?
yeah, it's a very good, interesting question you bring up there for sure. Because yeah,
Like Dolander, I think is an easy one answer.
yeah, I
After
mean,
that, I have no idea. Bradley Baylock just started the game where they lost 21-0 or 21-0. So I don't know about that one.
yeah, I mean, Senzatella, Marquez, and Freeland have been there. Smoltz, Maddox, Glavin of just being there.
Yeah, of just always being there.
Yeah, not not necessarily performing to exceeding standards, but just they're there. They're gonna throw some innings.
I think they should sign Marquez to a 1 year deal next year and do like the same thing that the Royals did in 2017, where at the end of the season they just have all three of them exit the game at once and do like a standing ovation on the last day of the season.
Yeah, no,
I don't know how you'd have all three of them walk off the mound. They just put Marquez in left field or something.
that's funny.
Yeah, it's like Senzatella gives up his seventh run of the game in the third inning. They take him out, and Freeland, him, and Marquez all walk off the mound, all walk off the field in unison.
Right. Yeah.
That's the moment.
Yeah. That's that'll be etched in our brains forever. That'll be this generation's Jeter coming out to take
Yeah.
Mariano off the mound.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, no, so yeah, it is
They
funny.
do have Brody Brecht, who I think is fun
Anytime we talk about
in the farm.
the Pirates or Rockies, it gets very doomsday on this show. So it's funny that two managerial firings just happened with those teams.
Yeah, I mean, like I am kind of quite fascinated about how Bud Black got to manage that team for a while because yeah, you said it. Like I don't think he deserves to get fired. Like it's not his fault, but like also how much worse can this team get before they just like they're like, all right, something needs to change in this clubhouse. And it needed to be 6-33,
Yeah, that's
which
our
is
answer.
hey, that's I can see why it took him 9 years if 6-33 was the boundary.
Yeah, we got to be playing
150 ball for a
150.
month and for a month and a half. And until you
Yeah,
do that, you are still managing this team.
yeah, yeah. It is funny. I can imagine I can imagine like some sort of drawing or like computer program threshold of seeing like the bar at 150, and like if you get below this bar, or the bar's at like 160, if you get below this bar 40 games into a season, you're done.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
over, pal.
It's like the scene in Moneyball where Jonah Hill is like calculating how many wins the A's need to get to make it to the playoffs, like
Yeah,
how many runs they need to score, how many runs they need to allow.
right.
It's like over a 40 game stretch to start the season. We have to have a winning percentage less than boom 155. We have to score we have to have a run differential of what is their run differential right now? It's quite bad. I know that.
Yeah, 21-0 doesn't help.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it wasn't good before that either.
they've been outscored 258 to 124 for a
One
not
not minus
including
130.
for
Oh my
a
God.
an 8-31 Pythagorean win loss. So they were unlucky heading into today.
Yeah. Remember
Um,
back in like 2021 when the Rockies were like a 500 team at home and then just like horrendous on the road. Now they're just the road Rockies everywhere. Like the road Rockies used to be like a thing of like, oh, it's the road Rockies. So, like this team is really bad. That's just the Rockies.
yeah,
They're 5-16 at home, 2-17 on the road. So they are actually their winning percentage at home is actually double that of their road winning percentage. So I guess the road Rockies is still a thing. But
yeah, right.
who are the two teams they beat at their place?
Yeah, last
The
year,
Rays, they won one game against the Rays. Uh, what else? Washington was at home. Atlanta was there. The Giants. Okay, I think it was at. They've won one road game in a major league stadium this year
nice.
because one of the road wins was in Tampa.
Right. That's wild.
That's awesome.
La Last year they had a 457 winning percentage at home, 296 on the road. That's why when I think the Red Sox like lost a series in Colorado last year, and I
It was
wasn't
at
even that
home.
mad because I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, the Rockies are just kind of like that, I guess.
Yeah, they're on pace for like 68 wins at home
Yeah. Right.
over
Um,
a 162 game stretch.
right. Um, but yeah, anything more on the Rockies?
No, I think that's really it. I'm sorry, Rockies fans and Pirates fans. You deserve better than the like the putting a band-aid on like a building that was like wrecked by a tornado.
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, so yeah, one last bit of news to get into before we get into players to watch. It's been the great drama of the last week in the baseball world, specifically in Boston, as this was an issue that kind of started in February of this year when the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman and has spiraled into a different issue after the likely season-ending injury of Tristan Casas, ARR alum, by the way, Tristan Casas.
Yes.
Um, and but yes, for those who need some catching up on the story, um, when the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman, um, Rafael Devers was kind of you know, adamant about staying at third base, not being a DH, and publicly, like, in front of media as well. And then the Red Sox, right before the season, were like, hey, Rafa, you're going to DH. Don't worry about fielding this year. And then and then Tristan Casas gets injured. I believe Craig Breslow asks Rafael Devers if he can play first base for, either the remainder of the year or parts of this year. And Rafael Devers is publicly, once again, unwilling to adapt, unwilling to play first base. What have been your thoughts on this whole ordeal that's been happening over the past week?
The comments are definitely not a good look for Rafael Devers, but it's also not a situation he should have been put in. I agree he shouldn't be a first baseman. We shouldn't be asking him about it. I don't think he'd be good defensively at first. Not that Tristan Casas was like a gold glover or anything, but if you watch Rafael Devers play defense, he gets like the bad stuff happens when he gets in his head. He'll make the very difficult plays where he doesn't have time to think about anything, but then he'll miss the hard ones and they compile, right? Like he'll throw a ball, he'll field a routine ground ball and then airmail the first baseman, and then he'll boot another routine grounder. But then someone will hit a 107-mile-an-hour liner to his right. He'll dive to make the play and throw the guy out. All like there's going to be more of those routine plays where you have to really think it through at first base than there would be at third base. Like whether it's throws coming in from infielders, whether it's balls that you have to field. He's not going to be, I don't think he'd be good at that. And I think it would only hurt his offense too, because if he's getting in his head defensively, I can't imagine that's good for his offense. Like he should be a DH. I like that he's there. He has a 146 OPS or weighted runs created plus this year, which I think is exactly what I would have envisioned. Even with him like punting the first week of the season. I think the story here is less about him unwilling to move to first base and more about just publicly calling out the GM and like essentially name dropping Craig Breslow, all but doing it. He literally said the GM needs to hit the market and find a better player or a different player. I think that's really more where the story is, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't often hear about any player GM feuds. Usually that kind of stays within the clubhouse. But yeah, it is interesting. I guess where it goes back to for me personally, and something that I don't think has been talked about a lot among Red Sox fans here is, and this is something that I didn't really acknowledge because it wasn't a problem at the time, but we right before opening day, the Reds, Alex Cora to the media is like, we told him he's a DH, and when Bregman's off, if there's a scheduled day off for Bregman, we're going to put someone else at third. We're not going to have Rafael Devers play third. He's not going to be playing the field this year. I was like, that is a really quick 180 to be putting on Rafael Devers, a 28-year-old who the Red Sox have signed for about $30 million a year. We're just gonna completely put him to the side, completely keep him off the field, and no matter what injuries spur, no matter what necessities the team has, he's just going to be a DH. Like we're really going to put it firm like that right now. Like we're not only are we setting this up for this season, I can't envision the Red Sox after 2025 being like, okay, can you field now? That would just be kind of weird to do also. So it's like it's kind of crazy to put your foot down this hard at this stage in his career. Even if we prefer him at DH, it's still JD Martinez played defense for the Red Sox, and he was mostly a DH, but he filled in when he had to. I feel like that could have easily been a situation with Devers, but Red Sox did not make that seem like a possibility. So then yeah, it is on the Red Sox for doing that and then kind of turning around on it once an injury happens. It's like, yeah, I mean, we could have seen this issue happening. I mean, Tristan Casas got injured last year, so this very easily could have happened. And I know this makes things, it would make things a lot better for the Red Sox if Rafael Devers could play first base, because then Yoshida can easily come off the IL whenever he does. He can fill in at DH, and then you have a complete lineup once again. But now there's a glaring hole at first base like there was last year when Tristan Casas was out. But it shouldn't necessarily be on Devers to clean up the Red Sox mess. It would help things out a lot, and I'm sure there are a lot of other big name players that would be willing to do that. But you can't fully be like, hey Devers, you need to play here.
I think there also might be some kind of disconnect between Cora and Breslow because Cora was asked numerous times before these comments about Devers going to first base, and he kept saying no. Like he kept saying, no, it's not happening. We're not doing it. I'm not asking him to do it. And if Cora is saying that and is true to his word, and Breslow is then going to him and saying, hey, what do you think about first? Clearly they're not on the same page. And that's just what's been reported. I don't know fully what's going on, but like I think it is really more of a respect thing, especially like I do think if Cora asked Devers to play first, he would do it because Breslow was the one that was, Cora and Breslow were both the ones saying like, oh, we're gonna sign Alex Bregman and have him play second base. And then they signed Alex Bregman and it's like, hey, he's gonna go to third. How about DH? And he said no. So yeah, like they've already backtracked on these comments before. They've already communicated poorly before. Cora's the one saying he's not going to first. It's not happening. Cora was also the one saying like he's not going to play the field even when Bregman's off, which I don't fully agree with the hard stop, but Cora's seeming to keep to his word much better this time around than he was during the offseason. Like he said, Devers will not play the field, and now he's saying Devers will not play first base. It checks out. Breslow is the one who asked him to play first, to which he said no. So I think there is that aspect of it as well, where a lot of people are not on the same page.
Yeah, it's interesting, and perhaps Alex Cora, I guess, maybe is taking into account Devers' feelings and emotions toward the situation more. I think they're connected pretty well, obviously, with Alex Cora being, being able to speak Spanish and communicate with him that way, and also the fact that every full season of Devers' career, Alex Cora has been his manager. So he's been there for the whole ride except for 2017 and 2020, which were obviously not full seasons. So yeah, I mean I'm sure they have a much stronger connection than Breslow, who has been there for a year and a quarter so far. But yeah, it's tough, and I think it starts with the Red Sox. Devers could certainly make things easier on them, but the problem starts with how the Red Sox handled it.
Luckily, I do think a lot of the story gets kind of stuffed under a pillow, given that Devers has a 146 weighted runs created plus this year. If he couldn't hit anything, yeah, I think that would be a problem. But he's actually hitting everything. He's been just fine. So I'm
Yeah,
not that worried about it. He had a 4-hit game, I believe it was on Saturday. He hit a home run today, go ahead home run today. Let him hit. Let him hit. Like you signed him because he could hit. I think he's better if he only focuses on hitting. Let him hit. There's no reason to worry about first base, especially because it's probably a short-term solution more than anything. I mean, I don't know who the long-term answer is at first base because I don't really think Tristan Casas is a part of the long-term plan for the Red Sox at this point, but that's a different conversation. Let him hit. Let him do what he's good at and do that as much as possible, especially because he's been very good as a DH this year, even with that rough first weekend in Texas.
right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm wondering what exactly the Romy Gonzalez injury, how long that will be. It says it's a contusion. I'm sure he'll be able to be back in like a few weeks or maybe a month at most.
Yeah.
He'll be a good solution for left-handed pitchers, but for right-handed pitchers, yeah, first base may be a big issue for
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Red Sox. But it's tough. It's a tough situation. Um, but yeah, I mean, injuries in a season-ending injury in baseball can really alter quite a bit of things. Did you have anything more on the situation?
No, I do not. Let's talk about some all-stars.
Yes, we do have some quarterly all-stars. We've done this segment before, maybe not every single year, but usually we just do the starting lineup. And this time we are doing the full roster.
Everybody, yeah, we're
Yes.
doing it all.
It's gonna be
Um,
gonna be
do you want to
fun.
start? I think we should start how they do it with the show. Start with starters and then go to reserves.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Do we want to start with the AL or NL?
Let's start with the American League because
All
those are
right.
the
Let's
guys that
talk
go
about the
first.
yeah. Let's talk about the Ban Johnson team.
Yeah, Ban Johnson represent.
All right, so going through my position player starters, at catcher, I have Cal Raleigh from the Seattle Mariners. At first base, I have Jonathan Aranda from the Tampa Bay Rays. At second base, I have Gleyber Torres from the Detroit Tigers. At third base, I have Alex Bregman from the Boston Red Sox. At shortstop, I have Bobby Witt Jr. from the Kansas City Royals. In the outfield, left to right to center, I have Stephen Kwan, Aaron Judge, and George Springer. And at DH, I have Jorge Polanco from the Seattle Mariners. You want to
Nice.
go ahead and go through yours?
Yeah, so we have mostly similarities. Catcher, I have Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
That's pretty much unquestionable.
Mhm.
And he's if you took the AL NL out of it, he's the best catcher in this discussion here. First base, I have Jonathan Aranda as well. In at second base, I have a newcomer, Daniel Schneemann of the Cleveland
Ooh.
Guardians.
All right. You're
He's
going with
been
the less plate appearances, but the actual results.
Yeah, he has been just smacking the ball around for sure. Third baseman, I have Alex Bregman. Shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. Outfield, I have Aaron Judge, and then Wilyer Abreu and Byron Buxton.
Okay.
And DH, I have Jorge Polanco as well. Um, on to what position player reserves?
Yeah, we'll do position player reserves. So at catcher, I have Logan O'Hoppe, who is my lone Angels representative on this team. At first base, I have Spencer Torkelson from the Tigers. Second base, I have Christian Campbell from the Red Sox, a rookie. Third base, I have Michael Garcia from the Kansas City Royals. At shortstop, I have another rookie, Jacob Wilson, along with JP Crawford. Wilson, my lone A's representative, although there are many good options from that team, but this is the only one that made it. My reserves are for the outfield are Byron Buxton, Wilyer Abreu, who you previously mentioned, along with Trent Grisham from the Yankees. And my DHs are Ben Rice, also from the Yankees, and the aforementioned Rafael Devers.
Yeah. I forgot to put specific positions for reserves, but I think
That's fair.
I have all the positions laid out except for I didn't have a reserve second baseman, but I feel like
Yeah, there really aren't a lot.
yeah, AL second base does not look
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, my reserves are Jacob Wilson from the Athletics,
Hmm.
Michael Garcia, third baseman for the Royals, Stephen Kwan, Jeremy Pena, Harrison Bader, Spencer Torkelson, Ben Rice, George Springer, Dylan Dingler, the catcher from the Tigers.
Nice.
He's my backup for Cal Raleigh, Zach Neto, and Ryan O'Hearn, and I'm pretty sure that's it.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, Ryan O'Hearn is my lone Oriole. Zach Neto, my lone Angel, and George Springer is my lone Blue Jay, I believe. Um,
What were some of the toughest decisions for you in this?
um, my second and third outfielders I found difficult.
Hmm.
Because like in my mind, Abreu, Buxton, and Kwan were all pretty close together. They
They
all had
were.
fairly similar offense. Buxton is leading the league in BSR for whatever reason. I think he has a very high extra base taken rate and is like 8 for 8 on stolen bases. So he I think he ranks second among all AL outfielders in F4, but I tried not to use F4 as my sole
Yeah, as your
footing.
sole factor.
Um
George
and
Springer ranks second among AL outfielders with at least, I believe, 70 plate appearances in weighted runs created plus, obviously
yeah,
behind only Aaron Judge. Um, my most difficult decision was at first base, choosing between Spencer Torkelson and Paul Goldschmidt.
yeah,
Kind of just forecasting. I figured what Torkelson has been doing is a bit more sustainable than Goldschmidt. Um,
right.
so I ended up, but it's very close. And if you're picking two of those, if you're picking one of, I mean, you have to pick a Ronda. If you're going to choose between Torkelson and Goldschmidt, one of them works. Either of them
Right.
works.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we want to move on to pitchers?
Sure. I'll go through starting pitchers first. Of which I have eight, and they are Hunter Brown, who is my lone Astro, Tarek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Nathan Ovaldi, Max Fried, Tyler Malley, Chris Bubich, and Shane Smith, who is my lone White Sox, although someone who I would probably argue is an all-star regardless of the requirement to include someone from each team. Additionally, I think my starting pitcher at this point would probably be Hunter Brown.
Yeah, my starting pitcher for the or yeah, who's starting the AL or who's starting the All-Star game for the AL this year would be Hunter Brown for me at this point.
Yeah.
And then I also have Tarek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Max Fried, Shane Smith, and Nathan Eovaldi as the starting pitchers.
Okay,
for
so
the
you're
AL.
going with 6 starters.
Yes, six starters. And yeah, who are your
Yeah,
relievers?
I mean we agree on all 6 of those. I just added Malley and Bubich. My 4 relievers, I have a guy that has switched teams mid-season. Danny Coulombe from the Minnesota Twins hasn't given up a run this season in 15 innings pitched. Andres Munoz from the Mariners, Felix Bautista from the Orioles, my lone Oriole, and Luke Weaver from the Yankees.
Yeah, I have Danny Coulombe as well. And then I have Andres Munoz, Josh Hader, Lucas Urseg, Yohan Duran, and Steven Okert.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys who have put it together about 15 good innings each. But yeah, they make my all-star team.
Yeah.
So
There was a
far.
lot of tough snubs on this one.
Yeah, it is tough, especially with relievers because so many of the low ERA guys don't have great FIPs, and so many of the great FIP guys don't have great
Yeah.
ERAs. So it's hard to find that balance with a guy who's thrown like 18 innings so far.
I'll let you go first for the NL.
Awesome. So my catcher is going to be Carson Kelly of the Cubs. First base, Pete Alonso. Second base, Brendan Donovan. Third base, Matt Chapman. Shortstop, Geraldo Perdomo. And then in the outfield, it was kind of a easy 3 to pick from, at least at this point in the year. Fernando Tatis Jr., Corbin Carroll, and Pete Crow Armstrong. And then my DH is Shohei Ohtani. Who is your what is your NL lineup?
Yeah, I have no notes on that, Chris. We are completely in agreement on that, every single one. Yeah, I'll just run through them. Carson Kelly at catcher, Pete Alonso at first, Donovan at second, Matt Chapman at third, Geraldo Perdomo at short. Outfield in some capacity is Carroll, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Tatis, and then DH is Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, I mean you nailed it there.
Yeah, so we move on to starting pitchers.
Oh, reserves.
Or excuse me, reserves. Yeah, there were some guys that I think would be starters on the AL team that unfortunately could not be starters in the NL team, and I'm sure vice versa as well.
Yeah.
So my reserves are Kyle Tucker, Francisco Lindor, Freddie Freeman, Austin Riley, James Wood, Jung-Hoo Lee, Will Smith, Tommy Edman, Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Stowers, and Trey Turner.
Okay, we're very close to identical on that one. So at catcher, my reserve is Will Smith from the Dodgers. At first base, I have 2 reserves. I have Freddie Freeman and I have Pavin Smith from the Diamondbacks. At second base, I was going to go Tommy Edman, but he is injured right now, so I put Bryce Terang from the Brewers instead. I would have otherwise gone Edman if he was healthy. At third base, I also put Matt Chapman. Manny Machado was a very near miss for me. But it's very possible he could slide into one of those spots at some point. Shortstop, I had Lindor. Outfield, I had James Wood. I had Jung-Hoo Lee and Kyle Tucker. DH, I had Kyle Schwarber and Kyle Stowers.
Yeah, nice.
As my lone Marlin.
I originally had Manny Machado in there, and then I realized I didn't have a Brave.
You needed a Brave, yeah.
Austin Riley.
Yep. So Austin Riley is my default Braves home run derby candidate. I think my home run derby wish list starts and ends at James Wood this year.
Yeah, it would be fun to just see him spray it and like win.
Yeah. Yeah, he's taking BP pitches 430 to the other way.
Yeah. Like it's off the left field foul pole. What is going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, now on to starting pitchers, who I have starting the game itself is Logan Webb, and I know he doesn't have the lowest ERA right now, but I think he has the lowest FIP, and based on the numbers, I think that is poor luck on his side, and he also has way more innings than I think everybody in the NL right now. My other starting pitchers are Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Jesus Luzardo, Hunter Green, who is I think my lone red, Clay Holmes, and then Paul Skeens, who's my lone pirate. Who do you have as starting pitchers?
Yeah, so we're pretty locked in on that one as well. I have Logan Webb starting this game, and alongside him, Paul Skeens as my lone pirate. Hunter Green as my lone red. I'm hoping that he comes back from his injury soon enough to make this make sense because I don't really know what else to do with the Reds if he's not there. I have Jesus Luzardo. I have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Mackenzie Gore, Clay Holmes, and Nick Pivetta.
Yeah, Nick Pivetta almost made it for me.
Yeah.
And then yeah, finally relievers for me are Robert Suarez, Randy Rodriguez, Tanner Scott, Nick Mears, who is my lone Brewer, and I believe your Brewers player to watch, if I'm
correct.
Jose Alvarado, and then Jake Bird, who is my lone Rocky.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much in lockstep on that one. I only have 4 relievers, though. They are Robert Suarez, Randy Rodriguez from the Giants, Nick Mears, and Jake Bird, who is also my lone Rocky, and really the lone Rocky, because I'm very intrigued to see like what if they trade him in the next month? Like what happens then?
Yeah, it just the watch of that. Like, are we gonna get?
That's where you need to have the exception. Like Manfred needs to step in and be like, okay, I'm sorry, no Rockies All Stars this year.
Are we gonna get a below replacement player at the All
Yeah,
Star?
I'm sorry, Jung Hoo Lee. I know you're having a great year, but we have to have Hunter Goodman in this. Yeah, below replacement All Star. It'd probably
Yeah,
just be McMahon, right?
probably.
Like just by default, it's like, oh, this is the most well-known guy on the team,
Yeah,
and he's like doing fine enough.
some fringe baseball fans are pretty
He
familiar
has
with.
an above average OBP.
Yeah,
He's fine. He's doing
he
fine.
he almost won a Gold Glove, and Nolan Arenado was just more popular at the time.
Yeah.
People kind of remember that.
Maybe Jordan Beck goes, I guess.
Is he in relation to Boom Boom Beck?
It's a great question.
I hope so. I think
Probably, right? I mean, it can't be a very common last name, Beck.
I figure. Yeah, I figure that
It doesn't say it on the baseball reference page. We might need to like contact their like support team to
maybe,
be like, hey, you have this wrong. He is the great grandson of Boom Boom Beck.
or maybe he's related to the conservative talk show host Glenn Beck.
I don't know who that is.
Well, he's dropping points. I think angry in the woke left. I
That's
think
fair. That sounds about right.
I'm not too familiar with his work, but I know his name. But maybe
Okay.
maybe Glenn Beck and Boom Boom Beck are related, and they're also all both
Maybe.
to Jordan Beck. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. But yeah. So yeah, those are the all-star teams. Was there anyone that you felt like you feel like you're standing and you're campaigning for this guy, like you really want him in?
That's a good question. Let me look back at my teams. Maybe Nick Mears, just because he was like an obscure player to watch of mine. Although that I know, I don't have the energy to campaign heavily for a reliever in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I can't really do that. I don't know. Everyone that I like really feel strongly about, I think will make it. Like everyone that's there. Like I don't know. Maybe Jacob Wilson, but I do think he'll be there anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Like
No,
that
especially
he's come out of
considering
nowhere.
especially considering he's on the Athletics, who don't have
Yeah.
a whole lot of great candidates.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
yeah, I um
Who are yours? Do you have any?
did you have Ben Rice on your
I did, yeah.
okay, so I guess I'm not too out there with him, but
Yeah.
I'd
Maybe
I'd like
Pavin
to
Smith,
see.
actually. Pavin Smith would be a good one.
Right. Yeah. Um but yeah, no, Ben Rice was someone like, I obviously had him as a player to watch, but I feel like he's getting recognized for what he's been doing. I feel like I see him on baseball Twitter quite a bit of how well he's doing. But I think it's just cool to see like someone who had the underlying numbers last year, but
Actually go out and do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually like go out and perform to and above his capabilities. And like, it's like, oh, because there's still that crowd sometimes. It's like, oh, expected numbers, they're called expected for a reason. They're not real. It's like it's a made up number. It's like, okay,
All
well,
numbers are made up if you think about it.
when yeah, hits are like some of the most subjective
You think
things.
the number one just came out of a tree? Like, no, someone created it, obviously.
Yeah, the number one did not grow from the ground.
Yeah,
That was
same with all of them. Every
yeah,
number is made up. Every stat is made up. When people talk about WAR being a made up stat, literally all of them are.
literally
Someone had to create a rule and be like, when that ball goes over the fence, that's called a home run, and that was made up. It wasn't a God-given right.
Yeah, right. And batting average is also a stat, and it's like it was probably an advanced stat at one point.
Oh, 100%.
It's like I don't need this tracking thing. I think I can tell when a ball player is pretty good or not.
Yeah. Tell me who has the most hits. I think that's a foolish Bailey tweet.
But yeah, and even hits are very made up because it's based on the
You know
judgment
what's
of,
made up? Errors. Like very made up. Maybe the
yeah.
most made up.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
hits are made up because it's reliant upon the judgment of a sports writer. And
Mhm.
I'm not the smartest person in the room most of the time, and I don't need to be given that responsibility.
Yeah. You're a sports writer though.
I am a sports writer, but like I'm gonna determine what's a hit or not, this sacred stat. Um
You're part of the Sports Writers Association of Virginia,
uh if there is one,
high
yeah,
school sports writer. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a BBWAA acronym, but for high
yeah,
school sports writers in Virginia,
yeah, the
of
HS,
Virginia of America, the Virginia High School Sports Writers of America.
yeah, the HS SW V. I
I
think
kind of like the Virginia Sports Writers of America.
yeah, that works. Yeah. I think that
It's like the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
yeah, no, that's hilarious. That's something that I'll enjoy explaining to any future children I might have. Is like for like 10 years they were calling themselves the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. That's what an insane time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anything more before we get into players to highlight?
Let's talk about some players to highlight.
All right, wonderful. Well, we just highlighted some players who are doing good. We're gonna balance it out by starting with the lows, but then we're gonna end with the highs. We're gonna get back to that. We're gonna get back to this positivity, but for a temporary amount of time, we will get with the lows with our Sunday, May 11, 2025 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, so for my slightly alarming, we needed some sort of balance because multiple players to watch of mine were listed in my all-stars, and for good reason. So we need to do a little talk of shame here, and I'm actually doing one for you as well because this is a guy that both of us had. Talk about Michael Conforto from the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I was so confident in. This was one of my surefire picks from this year that I was like, this one's going to rock. He's going to be awesome. No, he's slashing 153, 291, 246 for a 537 OPS, a 63 weighted runs created plus, and minus 0.5 FWAR. Through 100 among 165 qualifiers this year, he ranks third lowest in average, third lowest in slugging, is tied for 10th worst, excuse me, in FWAR. He's not been good at all. His strikeout rate has gone from 24.2% last year to 29.7% this year. It is a 5.5% increase. And a large part of that is because Conforto is seeing a heavier dose of breaking balls this year compared to in previous years, including in 2024. He's gone from seeing 27% breaking balls last year to 32.5% this year. He is hitting 114 and slugging 200 against all breaking balls with a 37% whiff rate. So for, about a third of the pitches he's seeing, he has a 37% whiff rate, which is not good. And not only is he not hitting them, but when he's hitting them, they haven't been good. His barrel rate against breaking balls has gone from 13.1% last year to 5.6% this year. So that's considering batted balls as a denominator. It doesn't account for the whiffs at all. And even still, the contact hasn't been good either. Conforto's ground ball rate overall has gone from 41.5% last year to 48.6% this year. His pull rate has gone from 41.5% last year to just 32.4% this year. His pull rate on fly balls, this is probably the most alarming thing, has gone from 31.9% last year to 13.6% this year, which is just the most immediate sign of, oh no, is if if you can't pull your fly balls and their rate is down 18% from last year. Lastly, his barrel rate on fly balls has also gone from 29.8% last year to just 22.7% this year. Large part of the reason why I liked Michael Conforto was because he kept the ball off the ground and pulled it in the air. He's not doing that this year. And on top of that, he's making less contact. He's not hitting the ball as hard. And he hasn't adjusted very well to the adjustments that pitchers have made to him. So for that reason, he is getting a slightly alarming.
Michael Conforto.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, we both had him as a player to watch, and it was one where it like almost felt like cheating. It's like, really, like we're gonna get this like freebie. This is gonna be a slam dunk hit, and no, it has not been the case so far.
I thought like, given the other guys in that lineup, he'd be getting such good pitches to hit. His in zone rate is lower this year than it was last year.
Yeah, no,
You would think people are pitching to Conforto specifically because it's either face him or face the other guys in the lineup. And you'd rather face Conforto, but that's not been the case.
yeah. Is Shohei Ohtani's OPS above 1,000 this year because he's being protected by Michael Conforto?
Yeah.
More at 11. My slightly alarming is someone, I don't think he'd be eligible for a player to watch, but I was higher on him than probably a lot of the baseball landscape. He's someone I had in my top 10 second base list, and I know you didn't, and I don't think MLB Network had him in the top 10 second base list either. Had an off year in 2024, but I figured, he was injured and didn't have as large of a sample size. We'll get back to the 2023 level, but he's not lived up to that. And I'm talking about Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves. In his last 21 games, including today, he is hitting 174 with a 438 OPS. In his previous 20 games heading into Sunday, out of the 173 qualifying hitters in that span, he had the 8th lowest slugging percentage and 9th lowest OPS. And out of the 163 hitters to see 250 plus pitches in that span, he had the 2nd lowest expected slugging and the lowest expected batting average and expected WOBA. Much of where his problems are coming from are from his quality of fly balls. Now his fly ball rate went from 29% before the span to 37% in the 20 game span that led into Sunday. And going from 29% to 37%, that can often be good. And oftentimes I'm highlighting that for a guy who's on the other end of this and being a how about that. But for Albies, that is not the case. His average launch angle on his fly balls has gone from 34 degrees to 43 degrees, and his barrel rate on fly balls has gone from 22% to 4%. And he has gone from hitting 11% of his fly balls 45 degrees or higher to hitting 48% of his fly balls 45 degrees or higher. So he's hitting fly balls at 45 degrees or higher at
he's hitting glorified pop-ups.
Yeah, over 4 times the rate than he was prior to the span. And the reason why I mentioned the launch angle there is because they're very non-competitive fly balls, and he is hitting and slugging 083 on those types of fly balls. And he has also only had 1 barrel in the span, which has limited him to only 2 extra base hits in this 21 game span. So Ozzie Albies, known for power for sure. He's put up 30 home runs in a season before, but he's hitting the ball a little bit too high, and that's caused him to be a bottom 10 hitter in baseball for the last almost month. So he is getting a
slightly alarming.
All right, so now we will go from the lows to the highs, where we were talking players or subjects that have been outperforming their expectations with our Sunday, May 11, 2025 edition of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a...
How about that?
Yeah, so for my How About That, I am talking about your all-star starter for the American League at second base. Talking about Daniel Schneemann from the Cleveland Guardians. Yeah, it wasn't enough for an all-star appearance for me, but it was enough for a How About That, largely because of the plate appearances. Since April 17th, Daniel Schneemann is slashing 354, 426, 688 for an 1113 OPS in 55 plate appearances through 19 games. This does not include tonight where he played on Sunday Night Baseball. Among the 248 hitters with at least 50 plate appearances in this span, Schneemann ranks 7th in average, 11th in on-base percentage, 3rd in slugging, 3rd in OPS, and 3rd in weighted runs created plus. All three of those stats where he's in 3rd, by the way, he only trails Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. And he is tied for 18th in FWAR, despite ranking tied for 230th in plate appearances throughout this span. Schneemann is, first of all, making a lot more contact. His K rate has gone from 37.9% before this span to just 20% in this span. But not only is he making more contact, he's making much better contact during the span. Schneemann has a 23.7% barrel rate, which trails only Shohei Ohtani, O'Neal Cruz, and Aaron Judge among the 273 hitters with at least 25 batted balls in that stretch. Among the 244 hitters to see at least 200 pitches so far in this span, he ranks tied for 10th in expected batting average and 4th in expected weighted on base average at 738, trailing only Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, and Aaron Judge, which is those are some pretty good names to be involved with. Schneemann has a 26.3% fly ball rate in the span, and his fly balls have an average exit velocity of 101.2 miles per hour, the second highest among the 223 hitters with at least 10 fly balls in the span, trailing only Shohei Ohtani. He has torched four-seamers specifically through the span. I talk about this a lot. If you're hitting four-seamers, that's the pitch you see the most of. Everything else is probably going to be okay. He's hitting 421 and slugging 1053 against four-seamers so far in this span. Among the 310 hitters with at least 10 plate appearances ending against four-seamers since April 17th, Daniel Schneemann ranks 4th in expected batting average against them at 471, 6th in slugging, 1st in expected slugging at 1240, 7th in WOBA at 637, and 1st in expected WOBA at 707. So Daniel Schneemann has been making consistent contact, a better contact, and for that reason, he is getting a How About That?
Yes, Daniel Schneemann.
How about that?
Yeah, he's if he gets really good, it's going to be tough for a lot of sportscasters to just rattle that name off quickly.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a task on the tongue there. But my How About That was also highlighted on our All-Star rosters. He is our American League DH, and that is Jorge Polanco, who I thought last year, he caught the Mariners free agent hitter itis, which means, you're just tortured until you leave that place. But he's kind of breaking the curse right now. Jorge Polanco, in 111 plate appearances this year, is hitting 327 with a 1026 OPS and 200 OPS plus. That means, of course, he's 100% above average at the plate. Among the 224 hitters with 100 plus plate appearances heading into Sunday, Polanco ranked 7th in batting average, 3rd in slugging, and 5th in OPS. Among those 224, he also led in expected batting average and ranked 6th in expected slugging and 5th in expected WOBA. From 2024 to 2025, his strikeout rate has gone from 29% to 11%. Out of the 181 qualifiers for year-to-year changes, Polanco has the greatest decrease in strikeout rate from 2024 to 2025. And among the 224 hitters with 100 plus plate appearances entering today, he had the 10th lowest strikeout rate. Along with that, he's been hitting the ball harder. His average exit velocity has gone from 88.3 miles per hour to 91.9 miles per hour, which puts him in the 83rd percentile in baseball. He has the 9th highest increase in average exit velocity from 2024 to 2025 among 181 qualifiers. Also, his barrel rate has gone from 8.9% to 15.4%, which puts him in the 88th percentile. And he has the 13th highest increase in barrel rate out of 181 hitters. He is also, to put the cherry on top, everything else he's been doing has been enough, but to put the cherry on top, he's also gone from pulling 38% of his fly balls to pulling 48% of fly balls. Out of the 193 hitters to hit 20 plus fly balls this year, Polanco's rate of fly balls being pulled ranks 7th. So elite contact numbers, elite average exit velocity and barrel rate numbers, and also elite ability to pull his fly balls. I mean, the fact it was 38% last year, which is already extremely good. Bumped it up to 48%. And yeah, stuff like that's going to get you a 1026 OPS and 200 OPS plus. So Jorge Polanco.
How about that?
Beautiful stuff. Love that.
Yes, we love to see that. It's it really makes me believe in the world more when I see a Mariners hitter succeed. It's just like maybe the future is in good hands at some point. But
maybe world peace is achievable.
Yeah, like I mean, the day a Rocky wins Cy Young, I mean, I will believe in this world forever.
Yeah.
That will make
faith in humanity will be restored.
Like I might get back into religion. It might take me back. But yeah, no. Anything more before we wrap the show up?
I think that's a perfect way to end it off.
Yeah, exactly. This is the type of stuff you get at 11:30 at night, right before the week starts. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a little bit gloomy today to start with all that Pirates and Rockies talk, but shout out to Bud Black almost getting his 10 and 10-5 rule.
Yeah, well, I guess kind of got it with
he was in his 10th
now with one team, yeah.
But
he got 9 years twice.
Yeah, man. But
18 years total.
Shout out to Bud Black doing his thing. And but yeah, if you want to listen to this show, if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. And if you are listening on the YouTube channel and wondering if there's an audio version, just go to the Apple Podcasts and Spotify streams. It's the same title. And yeah, if you're on the YouTube channel, check out all the fun features. We got 5 years of content filled with guest interviews. Go to the guest interviews playlist. We had Matt Brash on this past off season. We talked to Anthony Castrovins, Mark Simon. We've talked to Mark Simon 4 times. We've also talked to Jeff Passan, Chris Rose, Sarah Langs, Foolish Bailey, Mike Petriello, among others. So feel free to check all that out. Check out the latest video essay on the channel, Slow Death of ERA. And then, follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter, @Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram, @Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram, @Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, where we'll be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, see you then.
This conversation is over.